I'm Bee.
And I'm Renske.
We are so grateful that you are here.
Welcome to School of Joy.
Welcome back. And today we're going to be talking about spirituality, which is a subject, again, that we wanted to introduce quite early on because it's a huge theme for our podcast. And I think we're both super conscious that there's a lot of misconceptions maybe around what spirituality is, and that there can be some negative connotations with the word. So yes, so we'll dive straight in. I'm going to ask Renske a question, which is, how would you explain spirituality to someone who's never really considered it? And what misunderstandings do you notice when you hear the word spiritual?
Well, first of all, what comes to mind with the misunderstanding, I think nowadays spirituality is used a lot to create a new identity almost, which is still very ego mind thing. That it is a very still mental concept, I guess, in the way it's been used. Where to me, really simply put, spirituality is life, so to say, in a way that I see spirit. You can call it many different ways. It doesn't really matter how you name it. We can all probably acknowledge to some degree, and especially if you're listening, to some degree, you can acknowledge that there is a universal energy, a universal flow, a life force energy that moves through us, around us, is ever present, so to say. To me, spirituality is about tapping into that source, that energy source, that universal energy source within ourselves, because we are made of that as well. And we have built over time many layers through our childhood. I also believe in past lives. We probably won't touch that right now. That's another episode, a very deep episode. Regardless of whether you believe that or not, spirituality is about connecting consciously with that spark, with that source of universal energy within ourselves. And we cannot do that through the mind. We can only do that through our heart's consciousness. We can only do that through the frequency, the vibration of our heart center. And then I'm not talking about the physical heart. I'm talking about the energetic heart center in the middle of our chest. So for someone, because I guess when you're listening, you already have a certain concept or idea of spirituality yourself. Otherwise, you wouldn't be resonating with this episode anyway, or with this podcast in general. But for someone who's not yet deep into spiritual work, when I say spirituality is life, I mean that the way we respond to life is a direct reflection of our connection with that spark of spirit within us. Whenever we get triggered, maybe to give an example or to make it a bit more relatable, maybe, whenever you get triggered by your loved one, whenever you get triggered by your family, your children, your coworker, your friend, or whenever you get triggered even with your physical body, the way you look, with food. For many years, I had food as a massive trigger in my life as well. This is all a reflection of the energy we hold, and this is all a reflection of where we have put limitations in our connection to spirit. That's how I guess I would say at the moment what spirituality is. But I said to you before, probably if you ask me those questions another time, I would give a slight different answer. But this is how I would explain it right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I find it really difficult to explain because it's not something that my mind really fully understands. And I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with that because I feel that for me, there was something missing in my life, and I sort of sensed it with spirituality. And actually, how that originally manifested itself was I started going to a Buddhist center and looking for a community of people that were doing something. But I have a challenging relationship with religion, as I think a lot of people do. In my opinion, religion has been used to control a lot of people in a lot of negative ways in the past. But alongside that, and I grew up in a very religious household, I can see how much having faith of some kind can support humans.
Mm.
Yeah, I got to this point in my life where I was searching for something, and I tried the Buddhist thing, and I think a lot of what we're doing is probably quite aligned with a lot of Buddhism, but there were elements of it that, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, for me, it's a really difficult concept. That's why I asked you, because I find it really hard to explain. But I think you used one word, and it was the word connection.
Mm.
And I think it is that sense of being connected to a much deeper part of ourselves that
Yeah.
actually, like you said, we learn to be very disconnected from. And then not just to that deeper part of ourselves, but to all things, like a tree and
Yeah.
humanity. And yeah, just to feel like we are actually all
Or one. Yeah.
one.
Yeah. That's the oneness is what spirituality is. Or in another word, unconditional love, which is oneness in itself as well. I guess what you just touched when I heard you say like there was something missing, and that's the best way of describing how we, with our ego mind, we create that limitation of that connection, because that connection with spirit is never gone. It's always there. Yet over time, we create these limiting beliefs and this deeper programming that then causes us to have a perception as though there's something missing, we are alone, we are unsupported,
Yeah.
we are not worthy to receiving. We create all these conditions to feeling and experiencing that connection. And I think the only way why I'm able now to give an answer to this, because if you've asked me 4 years ago, I would have probably said as well, like, oh, I find that really hard one to put into words, because my mind has opened up so much more, and I've allowed myself to have experiences in those connections, or in that connection with spirit. I've surrendered to that connection with spirit, and I've set a commitment to learn to live my life from that connection rather than the connection with my ego mind. That's why I'm able to probably express it a bit better every time I have a new experience of a deeper anchoring of that connection, is where I'm able to more authentically share what spirit or spirituality means to me. But I completely agree with what you're saying around religion. Religion is over time, there's been so many conditions put onto faith, really, where if you really look at the core of faith, if you have full faith, full trust, you let go of all the beliefs that you have. So I find that always such a funny polarity that in religion we talk about belief and what do you believe in, and to have faith. But to me, faith and belief are quite different, because a belief is something you hold on to, whereas you have faith, you're completely open to anything new, and you're completely surrendered to whatever comes your way, so to say, and in whatever shape or form it comes to you as well. And yeah, that's why I would say right now that having that full faith to me now means that I'm asked to let go of all my beliefs. So I'm as open as possible in trusting what life is bringing me.
And letting go of the shoulds.
Yeah. How let go of the expectations and the shoulds and the conditions. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
We talk a lot about attachment, don't we, the Master's Way? And I think, maybe that's a whole other episode, but I think for me this year, especially, seeing my ego attachment to certain things, my life being a certain way, people being a certain way, having certain things, all of these things that we we want to have attachment to. And actually, when you are able to loosen those attachments and let go of them and just let life flow as it should, there's so much peace to be had. And I think that's one of the things maybe for religion as well, is that there's a lot of expectation and attachment within the religion that I've experienced anyway, a lot of shoulds. And I think, like, my experience of religion as a child was that it shouldn't be joyful. It's like a dutiful thing that we should do. And that's one of the reasons why I love that we've called this podcast School of Joy, because I think actually spirituality should be a joyful thing where we feel connected and a part of something much bigger. And I've touched on that in the previous episode, but for me, being this sense of belonging here on earth, that's the only way I could describe it. It's something that's really new and has come through my engagement with my spirituality. Yeah. And I think a lot of people in humanity feel quite disconnected. I think that's a really common experience.
That's a big one in the group consciousness of humanity, and it's deeply rooted. And I think if you're listening to School of Joy, that a part is sort of seeking, for that deeper connection. And the one thing that I'd like to share in this is that connection is there. That connection is there. It's just that you do not have the perception yet of a conscious connection. It's at the moment when we feel that there's something missing, it's unconscious. But that doesn't mean we can't transform it into a conscious connection. And that's where the self-mastery comes in, is that we learn to bring to the surface what sits in the unconscious, and bringing that to consciousness is like clearing out, as we shared in previous episodes before, it's clearing out that basement, it's clearing out that auric field, those filters, so that we see the connection differently and that we experience it at a deeper level. Yeah, I guess talking, about religion, from my understanding, from how I've been exploring also different religions a little bit. I mean, it's not that I've been going into certain religions very deeply, but the way I see it is that every religion in the core, they hold the same consciousness.
Yeah.
It's just that over time, through our ego minds, humans have created these conditions, like, oh, if you behave this way, that's a sin, so then you go to hell. But I guess all these religions basically say that if you talk about heaven, then, for example, is in your heart. You can create heaven on earth. That's the whole spark of joy that we talk about. At the end of the episode, we're going to share our joy spark again. That's that little piece of heaven that you experience. Yeah. And I guess in every religion, there is that deeper truth, that divine truth. I would say that universal truth that is there. It's just that read through the ego mind, it's just perceived differently. It's just, there's been put a lot of conditions to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting for me actually when I go shoot weddings and if ever there's a religious ceremony, I really listen for the deeper truth within what's being said. And you're right. I think it all stems from the same thing.
100%. Yeah.
And it's just been interpreted and reinterpreted and it got lost along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I
really
mean,
beautiful.
for many years, like, I saw God as this man up in the clouds. Like it's such a, yeah, funny way maybe of describing it, but that's how as a child I visualized that, and I
Same.
couldn't resonate at all with that picture, with that visualization. I guess because my parents, they grew up having to go to the church and all that, and they didn't really align with also that way of thinking. They said to us, we don't believe in that. So you get to choose for yourself when you're 18, whether you want to be baptized or not. And I guess that experience also drifted me away from God and spirit and everything, because then I was like, oh, my parents don't believe, I don't believe. Probably that was an unconscious thing that I created also. Yeah, I just didn't resonate at all with that whole picture. Yet now, when I go to church for either, a wedding, or if someone passed away or whatever, and I listen indeed to what they say very deeply, what they're sharing, and to the deeper truth, then every cell of my being is now resonating with that. And I'm like, oh, there's so much truth in this. Yet I don't feel called to go back to church or whatever, but I can really resonate with the truth that's being shared. Yeah. And I guess that's what in the podcast School of Joy, and what we want to emphasize in this episode is just that for us spirituality is this sort of wider concept of life, really, and spirit being an energy, a connection within us that we can consciously learn to connect with again, because it's not something that we were never able to. It's just that we need to remember how to. It's just a remembering of that connection, of that oneness, of that unconditional love within ourselves. It's a path, walking a path back home into our heart. Also, this feeling of belonging, that you're home wherever you are. That's how I feel that as well.
And when you use the word God, because we do use the word
Yeah,
God,
we do. Yeah.
what's your kind of definition of that? Because I think it's a really triggering word for a lot of people,
Hey.
and it took me a while to be able to use it freely without condition, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think for myself, I did a lot of releasing on the beliefs that I had around the word God, even. And I think that comes also from past lifetimes. I know of a couple of past lifetimes from myself being a monk or nun. And imagine having had a life like that. Then, of course, you create so many beliefs and attachments to the word God. So I've done like a lot of releasing work in that as well, a lot of letting go, because in the beginning I was also triggered with that word. I was very triggered. And I was like, why am I actually saying this? Because I don't resonate at all, until I learned that was also, again, a reflection of my energy, um, and my connection to spirit. So how I would describe God now, well, right now for me, I think I have a different, there's a different intention for me behind the word God at the moment. But for me, it's equal to spirit, it's equal to unconditional love, it's equal to life force energy, it's equal to flow of life. It's creation energy, source. Those are all words I would also use.
The universe is
Yeah,
when I listened to another podcast the other day, and one of the presenters said, I don't believe in God, but I believe in the universe. So I'm like, well, it's the same thing.
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. It's just, what's the intention behind the word? What does it mean to you behind the word is what, in the end, matters. So if you're not comfortable with using the word God, then swap it for something else, and the intention behind it then does resonate for you. That's wonderful. I know that Ishtar is the channel that has brought through the Master's Way courses, often says as well, to joke about it, yeah, I don't mind, you call it God, you call it Fred. Uh, the energy God, the energy of the universe, it doesn't care how it's named. It's unconditional anyway. So why would it care about the name? It's not even aware or conscious of the name. So it's just through our ego minds that we have this consciousness of the name, and that we hold beliefs around that. Yeah.
Just language, actually, is what it
Yeah.
is. And for me, I think God is just energy. And so it is me, and it is you, and it is every single one of our listeners, and it is the tree in my garden. And that's all. That's what it is.
Yeah. And it doesn't hold any conditions to what we are choosing. It's honoring every choice that we make. So that's the difference in religion, where religion is very conditioned. And if you act a certain way, there's this label of right and wrong on it. Where if you look at the way we speak about it, it's super unconditional, and it honors whether you create from or choose from anger, or whether you choose and create from joy, gratitude. Both is honored, because in both situations you are learning about yourself and about your connection to God, to spirit. And that's the one big thing that I also got over the years, is that understanding that all my choices are being honored, and it's never being judged. It's just my ego mind that judges it. Yeah.
Yeah, we ought to do an episode about unconditional love, I think, because
Mm,
yeah, it's a
it's a
big
big
one.
topic as well. Yeah.
So just to close, I guess,
Mm.
this topic, I'm just can imagine that maybe some of you listening are feeling curious. This connection sounds good. How do I get that connection back? And I think it would be really great if you could share some sort of tangible steps that our listeners could take to reopen that connection.
First one for me that comes up is the breath. For me, the gateway to that connection is the breath. And why the breath? The breath is when we breathe in that life force. We breathe in another way, spirit. We breathe in God. We breathe in. So when we take a deep breath in, we create space in our being. And that space can then be filled with that spark of spirit, instead of with all the thoughts of our ego mind. So meditation would be a first very tangible step to connect with that stillness behind the thoughts. And it doesn't mean that the goal of meditation is to be still, not at all, but it's to be connect with that observer self, that consciousness behind the thoughts. That's very unconditional. And that is the way of starting to explore what that means and how you can experience that at a more physical level as well. And to bring that even into the physicality of your being. But of course, by yourself, that is a lot harder to have that commitment. And that's why, the courses like the Master's Way are there to give you that long-term support of really establishing that connection. So that would be another thing. It doesn't have to be necessarily through the Master's Way courses, even though I haven't come across a course that goes deeper than that, but seek out support in ways that you resonate with.
Yeah, I think the support element for me, like meditation was the gateway to
Yeah.
experiencing that sense of connection in everyday life. But I was meditating for 3 years, maybe regularly before I started the course, and
Mm.
then everything changed really.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I guess that's often the case.
I'm just thinking, do you want to speak a little bit briefly about the Master's Way?
Yeah. I mean, if you're listening and indeed, like B said, you feel like you want to remember that connection and you want to really integrate that connection in your day-to-day life, the Master's Way is a course that really supports you at such a deep level in that, because I guess the biggest difference with other courses is that other courses, even though they are called or labeled spiritual, they are still often created from the mind, from the mental mind. And the Master's Way courses are channeled. And I won't go into channeling, but this basically means they come from a higher frequency energy source, which is a higher frequency energy than the mind. So it comes from the heart center. That's why these courses are so much more expanded, and they hold when we join, this course. We talked briefly about aspects in our second episode, actually. Aspects are going to step forward. So that means parts of us that sit in the shadow. We will do an episode on that as well. Lots of episode ideas still to come. But they come forward, and within the space of the course that's being held in unconditional love, really. There's the masters, the enlightened masters, where this is channeled from. They are an energetic support when you enter this course, as well as the group, of course. The group itself, you get a buddy, so someone else in the course. You're going to be joining together as buddies, and you support each other along the way. And then you have this weekly meeting. So because it's so disciplined in the weekly meeting, you start to build this deeper connection more easily, because this is a discipline coming from self-love, learning how to love yourself at a deeper level. And you get the tools along the way, how to resolve these limiting beliefs and patterns that these shadow aspects have created. And when they step forward, we become aware of that. And then the Master's Way really gives tools how to release that. And then slowly but surely, I see it in students, I've experienced it myself. There's a massive transformation then happening, because you start to clear your filters, and you're literally going to perceive life in a different way, and you start to experience more of that connection with spirit in your day-to-day life, really. Maybe, you jumped on like 2 years ago, so maybe you have some stuff to add to that as well, as you joined recently.
Yeah, I think it is that connection to spirit in every day that I feel that I just wasn't getting on my own from just meditating, even though meditating helped me massively. And I think we've got just from an ego mind perspective, we've got a really lovely group of people that are now my
Yeah.
friends that I love and that I feel deeply connected to. We've been on the crazy journey together. And I mean, we all say it whenever there's a week that we can't do. We're all, if there's a holiday or something, we're all devastated.
Mm.
We really miss each other. Um, yeah.
And I guess as well, that is a really important part of it, because I think if you're listening, it's very likely that you feel misunderstood by many people around you. And I think this course, what it gives you is a soul family to feel this recognition of like, thank you. I'm not so weird. Or maybe, as we always say, oh, we're a group of weird people all together, but you don't feel alone. And that's such a big one in being able to walk this journey. To walk this journey, it's so important that you do not feel alone and that you seek out support from like-minded. And as you say, you create friendships that are so, 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 so wonderful, and you share at such a deep level that you might not be able to with other people around you. Yeah.
Community element. And we're getting together in less than a month. And I
Mm,
just can't wait to just,
yeah.
because we meet on Zoom and I can't wait to hug everyone because I've got years worth of hugs in
Yeah,
me to,
exactly.
yeah, it's really profound.
It really is. So if you're listening and you think this is maybe something for me, reach out to us. It's not that we're trying to sell the course or whatever. I always trust that if this resonates within you and we have a chat whether this is for you, you will know the answer, whether that's yes or no. And we're not going to convince you there. It's just that from our experience, we've had such drastic positive changes in our life that we just wish that for everyone, really, because even though it's a commitment for a little while, it's not a weekend course. For the first year you commit for 10 months, really. And then if you want to continue, you continue for 3 years, really. You don't have to, but the Master's Way is 3 years in total.
think if you feel a spark of curiosity in you, because that's all that both of us had, like we've shared in the first episode, neither of us really knew. We were just like, oh, there was the spark of curiosity in us, and we just got curious with it. We just allowed for that curiosity to take us somewhere. So if you feel that, then yeah.
Reach out. Yeah.
So should we go to our joy sparks?
Yes. Yeah.
Does your mind need a minute, or do you want to share first?
If you have one, you go first. Yeah.
Yeah, I have one. Yeah, we were out in the van, my husband, me and my daughter, and we all sit in a row, in the front, and we were singing Jingle Bell Rock. Yeah, I mean, my daughter's a really good singer, and my husband is not, and I'm somewhere in the middle. My husband, yeah, he just never would have joined in with stuff like that before, but I think he's really stepping more into his authentic self. And of course, my daughter, she's 4, so she's super authentic at the moment. I'm also on a huge journey towards authenticity too. But it was just, yeah, it was a really miserable December day. It was really grotty, and we were just having a really lovely time together. And it was just, yeah, one of those moments where you just think, how is this my life? Like, it's so beautiful. And yeah, just that overwhelming sense of gratitude and joy.
Wonderful. For me, it was yesterday. Yesterday was just like a really short moment, actually. At the moment, as I shared before, our life at home is a bit chaotic. And my husband and I, we don't see each other much lately because at the moment, Lily's still struggling to sleep. So we chose to sleep apart for a little bit, simply because then he has a bit more chance of actually having a good night's sleep. And there's no point in both of us being sleep deprived, because I'm breastfeeding. But yesterday night, after brushing our teeth, we just had this really nice hug and we just held each other. And I just felt this, I can even tear up about it right now. I just felt this so much gratitude for doing this journey together. And despite all the chaos, I was just so joyful of the chaos that we create together.
Mm.
And just felt just this explosive feeling of love within me that I can share this with someone that is able to share the raw, to share the vulnerability along the way, and to not be afraid to say out loud, hey, I feel like shit. I feel so low at the moment. I don't need fixing, but I just want to share this with you. But then also still have those moments of, alongside of that, of intense love and gratitude for what there is. So not getting overwhelmed with all the negative emotions, still being open to the joy in that, the spark of joy in that. So yesterday night in the hallway, as we each sort of were drifting to our own bedrooms, before that we had this really beautiful connection, which was my spark of joy. Yeah.
Before we close, we're going to take a moment for a short grounding and connection together. If this conversation resonated, we'd love for you to share it with someone who might need it right now. You can follow us on Instagram at School of Joy Podcast, and subscribing really helps this space grow. If you notice your own joy spark this week, or have any other reflections you'd like to share, comment below or share it with us on Instagram. We love hearing from you. Thanks again for listening.
All right. If you're listening and you feel like grounding your energy as well with us, then you're welcome to close your eyes if possible. And then taking a deep breath in. And I actually feel today I want to sigh out. So if you feel like making a loud noise, you're welcome to join in. And if you need another one, go for it. Lots of love to you all. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being part of the journey.